Hi guys. I wanted to do a quick little check-in video. I know normally you see me post like a complete tutorial, and I had actually put up a post similar to this about 4 months ago when I first switched and left Younique and started a different adventure for myself. I actually took that down the other day and removed it only because just there's a lot of FTC regulations on things that you can say and things that you shouldn't say and what have you. So just to be safe, I took it down. But I did want to come on and kind of record a follow-up to that as sort of, I don't know, just kind of an update, I guess, for lack of a better word, on where I am now and why I had moved on from Younique and done something else. So just a quick brief overview if you hadn't seen the video from a couple of months ago. For 2 years, I was a Younique presenter and I had a great experience while I was doing it. I had fun with it. I liked networking with people. I liked to do makeup tutorials. I met a lot of wonderful people, but I wasn't seeing the kind of growth and the kind of success, take that for what you will. I wasn't seeing the kind of success that I had anticipated or that was mirrored to me by other people. I'm the type of person who, when I get into anything, I want to do it 100% and I want to be great at it and I want it to be successful. But I wasn't seeing that. And after 2 years with Younique, I decided to leave. And that decision was not an overnight choice. It actually took me a really long time to come to it. I had thought about it for many months before actually pulling the trigger and resigning from my position. And that decision was made independently of leaving to do anything else. In fact, when I decided to leave, I had no plans of doing anything else because why would anything else be different? Going back to last year, I had gone through, and 2019 was probably the hardest year of my entire life. In November of 2018, on November 18th, my dad had a massive stroke. He had a MCA stroke, which stands for mid-cerebral artery on his right side, and it left him completely paralyzed on his left side. And my mom found him and called me immediately, and I went over to their house and saw that he couldn't squeeze my hands and he couldn't smile and he couldn't stand. We took him to a hospital that was supposedly a stroke center, and they just looked at me and they kind of said, your dad's had a stroke and this is just what he is now. We can't give him TPA, which is a clot busting drug, because he was already on a small amount of blood thinner. And if they gave him TPA, he could have very likely bled out. So the doctors just kind of looked at me and they said, time is wasting and this is just kind of what your dad is now. He couldn't open his eyes. He couldn't move anything on the left side of his body. And the reality that he was going to be probably institutionalized and we couldn't take care of him ourselves shattered me as a daughter and a person. So I kind of picked up the phone and dialed a lifeline to my friend Nikki, whose husband is a neurology PA at another local hospital that we have here in upstate New York. And I called her and I said, what do I do? And she said, John said to get him in an ambulance and bring him to his hospital immediately. He will call in neurosurgeons and they will take this out through a vein. So we requested to have him moved against medical advice. They got a ambulance and we got him on the road. And it was literally like a scene from Grey's Anatomy. We were running down the halls. It was a Sunday night. We were running down the halls with him on a gurney and I was signing papers to allow the surgeons to do whatever was necessary to get him back. So, the surgery took about an hour and they threaded a clot up through his groin, up into his brain, and they grabbed the clot and they pulled it out. And immediately they watched the blood flow restore to the left side of his brain, and he could wiggle his fingers again, and he could move his mouth a little bit. And, they just said, the next 24 hours are critical. So we spent a couple of days in the neuro ICU, and he could talk and he could swallow. There was a little bit of an issue with the swallowing, and he had to be on like those gross thickened liquids. But we were making a lot of progress. They got him to stand up, and he was super weak on his left side, and he could hardly walk. And then, you have to lobby for your loved ones when they're in a hospital environment. And we just kept pushing the physical therapist to come in and work with him, and the occupational therapist. And about 4 days later, he was able to walk down the hall with assistance and not completely lean to his left. And so we were in the hospital for 6 days after the stroke, and then we were able to get him moved to a really good rehab in our area that was close to our house. And he was there for 2 weeks, and he did amazing. He did so good. I mean, I remember thinking, like, I'd look up at the sky at night and I would just say, thank you for getting me through this, because the reality that he wasn't going to come back to us was huge. So we were making tons of forward momentum, and he was able to come home like a week before Christmas. So all of this took about 3 weeks, and he was able to come home like a week or two before Christmas, and he spent Christmas home. And he was tired all the time, which was normal because his brain was recovering from all of this, but I really thought we were out of the woods. So then in early 2019, he started having a lot of like water retention in his legs. And just like other things were starting to happen. So he had always had atrial fibrillation, AFib, which is where your heart beats out of its normal rhythm. And it's a dangerous rhythm to be in, which is why he was on the blood thinners to begin with, because it can throw clots, which is exactly what happened. But the atrial fibrillation weakened his heart over time, and he started to develop congestive heart failure, or CHF. And unfortunately, the stroke weakened a lot of his left side, which included the muscles in his heart. And so his congestive heart failure started to become a huge problem. So what would happen would be, when your heart doesn't pump really well, it doesn't circulate the fluid in your system, and fluid sinks and it goes into your legs, and your kidneys have to work overtime to try to pump the fluid out, and your weakened heart ends up weakening your kidneys. So he would have to go into the hospital for a diuretics treatment, also known as Lasix. And he'd have to go in, and they would basically just kick his kidneys into overdrive. He would pee out all of the fluid, and he'd feel like $1 million, because there were times where he was carrying around 25 pounds of just fluid. So we kind of played that game all last year. And then in August, he went and had a pacemaker defibrillator put in, and it was very successful, and his heart was staying in rhythm, and he felt good. And the doctors kept saying to him, Mick, you are the cat with 9 lives. Like, you have been through so much, and you continue to fight. And it's medically marveling that you're doing as okay as you are. And then in September, he was over at my house, and he just stood up and he said, I don't feel good. And my mom took him to the local urgent care, and he was in VTAC, which is called ventricular tachycardia. And basically his heart rhythm was it was not a sustainable heartbeat. And we got him to the hospital in time, and they were able to paddle him into a regular rhythm. But after that, it was just kind of downhill. And we lost him on December 14th. So going through all of that last year, what I learned was so much about health, and it was so much about nutrition. And there were so many things that we had to learn on our own, because there wasn't a ton of medical support. His doctors were all wonderful, and the hospitals that we went to were amazing, but there's kind of a disconnect between wellness and sick people. And even though he had a cardiac issue, He never talked to a nutritionist or a dietitian to tell him how little salt he should take in, or that he should explore more plant-based diets or anything like that. So I started doing research on that for him and for me. And so last year I started really kind of honing in on eating more plant-based and taking into consideration everything that I was eating and the effect that it would have on my body long-term, because I am his daughter, and what happens to him could happen to me. So in November of last year, I really started to try to lean towards being more plant-based, and being vegan is an ultimate goal of mine, but it is really, really, really hard, especially with 2 young kids, to be vegan. I'm sure I could do it, but it wasn't easy. So at this point, I kind of lean more towards just being as plant-based as I can and making good choices when I do have choices to make. I've probably cut down the amount of animal products I eat by at least 50 to 60%. But we're not 100% vegetarian, and definitely not 100% plant-based in our house. But that being said, it just made me a lot more mindful of the things that I was doing every day, whether it was contributing to wellness or contributing to someday being in a hospital situation like he was in. So I had been working out, and I was just, ordering protein off the internet, whey protein, trying to build lean muscle and all that kind of stuff. And I switched to a plant-based protein. A lot of them were gross. And then a friend of mine who was an Arbonne representative said, why don't you try this? It's plant-based, vegan, dairy-free, soy-free, gluten-free, paraben-free, cruelty-free, non-GMO, all the things. And so I started using the Arbonne nutrition. And it was great. I loved it. But it was just protein powder. And that's all I thought of it as. And then in January of this year, 2020, I was just kind of at a bad place. Not a great place to be in. I was sad. I had lost my dad. All of the things were happening. My Younique business didn't really feel like it was going anywhere. And I just made a jump. I made a jump over to Arbonne, because not only was I able to still keep on doing the makeup and the skincare that I loved, but I was also able to do it with no chemicals and no animals being harmed in the process. And I was using things that were better for me and for other families. And I was able to expand into the other piece of my life that is so important to me, which is health and wellness. So that is why I made the switch in January. And I had done a video to kind of explain these things in January, why I left and whatever. And I didn't want it to be trashing where I had come from, because everything happens for a reason, in my opinion, and everything happens at certain times, for my personal opinion. And I did learn a lot with Younique. I stepped out of my shell, and I learned a lot of good things, and I also learned a lot of things that I do not care for about network marketing and just selling things in general. But there were a lot of very positive things that I took away from my experience. But the biggest thing is I wasn't growing. I wasn't achieving the monetary goals that I had set for myself. Now, 4 months into Arbonne, I can tell you that I have a completely different experience. I have found the most amazing team who roots me on and helps me every single day. They are as involved as I want them to be. And sometimes that's very involved, and sometimes that's not involved at all. Just let me go and let me do my thing. And sometimes I literally have them all on a group text, and I'm like, help me, I'm drowning. But that is the amazing thing about the family that I have found in Arbonne. The success that I have found in Arbonne has been a game changer for me. It has helped me in a million different ways, especially right now while we're all safe at home. And the ability to have a business that I can still continue to do here where it's safe. I live in New York, so we are kind of right in the thick of all of the craziness that is going on right now. But to be able to continue to focus on my health and wellness at the same time has been such an ultimate gift. I have my kids and my husband using my products, feeling better and healthier than ever before because of them. And I'm also able to work a business that works alongside of me on the hours that I can work alongside of it. That being said, we are all locked here in this house. We are homeschooling 2 kids. We are both not working at work. We're working remotely or not at all. And it's been kind of amazing to have that component not be as painful as it has been for a lot of people. So, like I said, I wasn't going to make this video at all about trashing Younique as a company, as an experience, anything like that. I will say, however, that I made a very brave choice to leave and to find something that was going to fulfill me more. And I'm glad that for once, one of my leaps of faith has truly benefited me gratefully. So that being said, if you're watching this channel and you've seen that in the beginning it started with Younique makeup and now I switched over to Arbonne, that is the backstory behind why. We are really right now required to be very, what's the word I want to use? Discreet about income and claims about bonuses and earnings and growth and the way that Arbonne products personally affect you or health benefits and things like that. So I'm not going to make any wild claims in a video like this. My business is too important to me to gamble on it like that. But I just want to let you know that if you are ever feeling stuck, like I was feeling stuck, that there is a lot of opportunity out there. And if you follow the things that truly speak to you in terms of your passions and what you're good at, that I promise you good things will come back to you. These have been the most excruciating 4 months of my life after losing my dad. But with pain comes growth. And I do feel like I've grown a lot as a person and a business leader, which I apparently have turned out to be. I know network marketing gets a terrible rap sometimes, and deservedly so, because I have encountered a lot of, I call them MLM monsters. You know, the people that just message you all the time and, hey girl, try this. And do you want to be a free, what do they call it? I can't even think of the terminology because I've like literally blocked it out. But you know the messages that you get from the people that you sort of know in the world, or people that you don't know at all that just kind of randomly friend you, and all of a sudden they're commenting on your pictures and trying to get you to do X, Y, or Z. I've also been involved with people who literally just tried to manipulate the crap out of you to produce for them. And it is not that way. When you find your tribe, they love you as hard as you love them, and your success is their success. And that is what I have found. And that is hopefully my goal this year, is to pass that kind of love along to as many people as I can. I will say that now that I have switched to Arbonne, my client base has quadrupled, because I'm not just selling makeup and skincare to women anymore. We have a baby line and a kids line. We have men's skincare and nutrition products for every member of your home. My 73-year-old mom uses all of my products. We have hair care, we have essential oils, we have makeup, we have some of the most incredible plant-based skincare I have ever touched. And It just feels right. So while we're all safe at home, if I could leave you guys with anything, it is that the road ahead of you is not always going to be straightforward. I have had to learn that a couple of different times. And it's still worth doing, even if it looks hard. And it's worth trying if you can't stop thinking about it. And that there are better things ahead than you leave behind sometimes, even if it's hard to see. So that is my little 20-minute and 37-second spiel about where I'm at now and why I'm here and how grateful I am to be here. And I'm going to take that knocking on that door with no one on the other side of it as a sign right now. But as always, if I haven't said it, because a lot of the videos that I put up on here are my pre-recorded Facebook Lives, I really appreciate all of the love and support that everybody has shown me on YouTube. I get so much inspiration from the people that I follow and learn from every single day. And I hope that in some small way I can repay that to someone who is looking for that themselves and stumbles upon my page. You know, I can say that I have made a lot of mistakes in my life, but one of the better things that I have done is reach out and help people when they need something. It's something I feel very passionately about, and it's something that I think highly of myself for, because I don't think a lot of people will tell you that they've come to me for help and I've denied them. So this is one of my bigger ways of kind of letting that be at the forefront of my life, is helping people who have a need. And I finally find that with Arbonne, I'm doing that on a very daily basis. So if you have ever been interested in my story, then stay tuned, because I'll continue to fill you guys in on kind of a little bit of me. I hope that you're all safe, and I hope that, you know, what's going on with our economy and homeschooling and all of that is, you know, not affecting you and your family, because I know that it's a hard road for many of us. But thank you for joining along here with me on this channel, and I will see you guys very soon.